they asked instead that they get sleep in, and well, I was gonna film it and budget, so that's why we're filming, because I will not be here tomorrow. So this way they can get the lecture too. All right, so first we're gonna do is a fake pop quiz, and it's not really fun. So what I want you to do is to take.
That's so fun. How do you know this? I think that's funny.
Without looking at your notes, draw a diagram of alternating generation. And you can do it with a partner if you want.
I'm game for that.
That's right, because you know it cold, right?
Well, I knew it cold last year. I'm sure I have diagrams somewhere. Sarah has my
Somebody was telling me
diagram.
they remember.
Yeah. I do.
Good, it's your eye.
Well, you not have to draw it, you don't have to make it nice.
Alright.
It takes 2 or 3 minutes.
There's one male and one female.
So things you should have: sporophyte, gametophyte, spores, gametes, fertilization, meiosis, and mitosis. Yep.
This grows bigger.
Good. Do you go from fertilization to aniculate? Do meiosis?
It's been a year.
Yeah, if this was here. Yeah.
Alright, let's see what we got. Gametophyte, right, mitosis, right, fertilization, right? Mitosis does that? Yep. Yep. Good.
Main.
So dicot, monocot are different kinds of things. So we're talking sporophyte and gametophyte. Okay, so you gotta, those words you gotta figure out.
Good morning.
So that's, the haploid is the gametophyte.
Good morning, America.
Yeah, good, okay. So fertilization, right, mitosis, yeah. Okay, so the one thing that you have to figure out is, gametophytes make gametes, sporophytes make spores. Where are the spores and gametes in here?
So this is it.
So you'd have spores, so you'd have, this is
Yo,
your spore, right?
the
Right.
marks and angles.
Wait, actually, no, this is
was
your
the hardest.
sporophyte, okay, sorry, sporophytes, you sure?
Yeah, I mean,
This is your gametophyte.
I just talked about
This
like
is your gamete. Okay, this makes
their
gametes
inability to
Right.
by mitosis.
improve their economic.
And then 2 gametes come together for fertilization. Okay. And that's 2 sporophyte, and that makes half-life spores.
Well, not direct.
And then half-life spores go to
Paraphrase.
Yep.
And that's yeah.
One spore.
This divides by.
No, one spore gives rise to gametophyte. They're named for the thing they
Golden
made.
piercing.
Sporophytes make spores.
Dog.
Gametophytes make gametes. Gotcha. Okay, so sporophytes make spores. Gametophytes make gametes. You guys are all set. You guys all figured it out? Okay. Do you know that character from the movie Silent Bob?
Yeah.
Why ever do you ask?
Because that's Silent Bob.
Silent Bob. Are you silent, Bob?
No.
Oh,
Instead,
okay.
it's not a flaw in the application of reason, but
Yep. Alright.
the observation
gametophyte-
which the reasoning.
Anybody else got a bubble?
I have a
which
bubble.
the reasoning is based.
No, I meant the.
It's not.
Okay, alright, I just wanted, because I don't wanna ask people questions if they're not
She has
talking.
a, she can do
Application of
this.
the
Yep,
concept.
yep, no, and that's good, but I wanna make sure that I'm
It's
looking
not
and
like-
not like trying to go, hey,
Oh,
what are you talking about? Alright,
You know how
gametophyte,
it uses, like,
fertilization, right,
Darwinian
gametes?
evolution?
Well, the gametes are not, so the gametes
A
are
reasoning to
N.
the left
This
eight
is
of-
a zygote.
Okay.
And then,
Yep. Okay, so that was the only part that had a little bit of a wobbliness in it. Alright, so once you get it down, just check it against your notes, or you can ask me. So I think everybody's pretty close. Here, so we can there's a thing right over there. Well, I mean, I have the same thing as there.
Well, I talked about how the observations were flawed because stigmas. Their previous
With Monty, I've almost finished the homework for
in
Monday.
their reasoning, they use inaccurate observations.
Alright, so last, yeah?
I had a question though. Because when I was reading the chapter,
That's why the
I had
conclusion
already like read and annotated chapter 40.
It's not the application of the concept, but like the fact that
Chapter
they
40? Because chapter 40 is not part of this homework. Chapter
Oh,
40 is not
okay.
animals.
I thought it was part of the
No,
homework for some
no.
reason, and I was like, I'm not.
No, this last thing we're covering is chapter 39.
Okay, so 35.
40 should be homeostasis, right?
Yeah.
We already did that.
They're using wrong data.
Alright, just the wrong data. So, the lab is due next week. Test on Monday. Regular old multiple choice, one essay. I'm going to be gone tomorrow, but I'm hoping to be back tomorrow afternoon. At the latest, I'll be back Sunday morning. So if you need extra help, let me know. And I'd be happy to meet with you Sunday. Beyond that, Sunday night at 8:30 in my apartment, I am available for extra help for the test. What else? That's it. Alright. So the last chapter on the test is chapter 39. It involves plant hormones. As I think I told you guys already, the beginning of this chapter is a whole shtick on plant exfoliation. This idea that sometimes plants start growing in the dark, and when they start growing in the dark, they're bleached, they're white. So if you've ever seen a potato, right, if you left a potato in the bag too long, these weird white, waxy things start spiking out of it. And then once it's exposed to light, the plant goes through a greening up process. The leaves become green, they're no longer white. And so the book goes through a whole long explanation of it. The take home from that part of the chapter is that plant hormones, just like animal hormones, have a similar mode of action, meaning that the hormone itself doesn't have an action, say, for example, insulin in humans. Insulin does not act on glucose directly. Insulin influences the way cells in the animal deal with glucose. Plant hormones, same way, they act through a signal transduction cascade. The hormones bind to a receptor either outside or inside the plant cell, which starts a chain of events that leads to a response. Okay, so there's reception of the signal, transduction, where the signal goes from one molecule to the next, and finally response, which just like in animals, can mean a protein that's already in the cytoplasm becomes active, or a new protein gets transcribed. Okay, so they go through a whole long thing on exfoliation where that's the basic idea they're trying to get across. Okay, so the last time I talked to you about the 5 basic kinds of plant hormones, we talked about auxins that stimulate cell elongation. Right? I'm not going over new territories. I don't have, for whatever reason, I didn't put a note in this for you guys. Okay, we talked about auxins that stimulate cell elongation by weakening the walls of cells, so that when the cells take up water, they stretch.
Where are the hormones produced?
What?
Where are they?
Just like, they're not produced in glands like they are in us. They're produced in cells. And sometimes those cells are localized. For example, the cells that produce auxin are localized in the apical merosphere. With respect to other hormones, A, I don't know if anybody knows, and B, I sure don't know exactly where the cells are localized that produce those hormones. Auxin is the only one I know for sure. You know, I think the plant hormones are still relatively mysterious to science in general. Okay, so auxin promotes cell growth, and the way it's thought to produce cell growth is by weakening cell walls. Remember that plant cells have those microtubule bands, so that when they fill with water, they stretch in one way. Okay, so in combination with the weakened cell walls, the microtubules, plant cells grow this way when they take up water. Auxins also seem responsible for phototropism, the tendency for plants to go towards the light. The side of a plant that's exposed to dark produces more auxin. So if you imagine the cells on one side of the plant getting longer, right, stretching out, it's going to curve the plant this way. concentrations of auxin on the dark side of the stem versus the light side. More auxin on the dark side, the cells get longer and stretch out, and the ultimate result is the plant kind of tilts, kind of twists. Okay, auxins also promote growth in stem diameter by stimulating cell division in the vascular cambium. We talked about how cytokinins stimulate cell division. Auxins are produced in the apical meristem, the shoot apical meristem. So if you cut off the shoot apical meristem of a plant, the plant gets bushier. And this is a common practice with ornamental plants. So if you know a gardener, they probably know this. It's relatively common folklore. If you cut off the top of a plant, it gets bushier. The reason for that, it's not that some people say, oh, it's sending food to the buds, and this way you send food to the shoot. No, it's actually auxin. You cut off the shoot, apical meristem. That's where auxin is produced. It lowers the auxin concentration in the plant, preventing the plant from getting really tall. You sort of limit the amount of cell elongation that happens. And instead, cytokinins become the dominant hormone. They promote branching, and the plant becomes bushier. All right, gibberellin stimulates cell elongation, which leads to bolting. So on the left, we've got some normal lettuce plants, I think these are lettuce or cabbage, and on the right, we have some that have been treated with gibberellins. And you can see the ones on the left, maybe, I don't know, a foot tall. The ones on the right, I'd say 10 feet tall. We're talking about a 10-fold difference in height because of one plant hormone. Gibberellins are stimulatory. They stimulate they stimulate stem elongation. They stimulate germination processes, and they stimulate fruit development. On the other hand, abscisic acid is inhibitory. Abscisic acid inhibits germination, and it causes stomata to close. This is like oh my God, it's dry. Oh, it's not time to germinate. It's, the sort of warning hormone, the hormone that keeps the plant from doing bad things at bad times. So, for example, if silent bob over there is the seed, okay, and laminator here, he's gibberellin. He's contained within silent bob. So silent bob has gibberellin in it. Gibberellin over here is yelling at silent bob to germinate. Germinate, germinate, germinate. Meanwhile, silent bob has Andrew over there, the voice of reason. The voice of reason. telling him not to germinate. Okay, don't germinate. No, silent bob, conditions are really bad. So, it's not a good idea. Rain comes along, whoosh, and washes away the abscisic acid. All that's left now is laminate over here yelling, germinate, germinate, germinate. So once the abscisic acid, the inhibitory hormone, is washed away, gibberellin, the hormone that's instigating germination, takes over, and bob germinates into a plant. Okay. Abscisic acid also causes stomata to close when it's really dry. So even if there's light and the stomata would normally open, in the presence of abscisic acid, they'll close and prevent the plant from losing water. Okay, everybody good so far?
Should be an actor.
What?
You should be an actress.
No, I nearly failed. I nearly failed acting when I was here because I would not get that. I just wouldn't. I had terrible stage fright. Okay, so ethylene. We talked about this, right? The bags that absorb ethylene you can keep in your refrigerator.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, they store ethylene, or they suck ethylene out of the atmosphere, so they prevent your fruit from getting ripe too fast. So ethylene is like the aging hormone. It's a gas. It's released by aging plant tissue, and it is involved in aging processes. So that's that phrase. You guys heard this phrase, one bad apple ruins the whole lot?
Yeah.
Totally true. If you have one rotten apple in a big bucket of apples, that rotting apple is releasing a lot of ethylene. And ethylene is going to stimulate the aging and rotting process in the other apples. Okay, we also, I think I mentioned that.
Does that help in like composting?
So, somebody asked me that same question before, and I hadn't even thought about that. Was it who?
Meg Cavazzini.
Might have been. Oh, AP Enviro.
Yeah.
Took me a second. I don't think it does. It might, but I would imagine it's a minor role. I mean, I think more of composting has to do with bacterial decay and insect activity and other invertebrate activity.
Okay.
But it might have some part to play in it. Leaves fall off the trees because
Ethylene, again, is produced in aging plant tissue. Leaves, as they get old, ethylene is released, and it causes the plant, the leaf to fall off. Okay, as ethylene levels go up and oxygen levels remain relatively constant, the leaf falls off. Okay, so we did this, name that hormone?
Yes. You should show them the cartoon.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, yeah. Oh my god, I meant to put it in a PowerPoint and I forgot, I didn't. I meant to put it in.
It's still in your email.
Yeah, it probably is. Alright. If we get through class and we, with a few bumps in the road, I'll show it. Okay, so plants actually can move. So, not like they can get up and walk around so much, but they actually can move in response to environmental cues. For example, we already talked about one where auxin will cause a plant to tilt towards the light. That's called phototropism, growing towards the light. Plants will also grow with respect to gravity, meaning roots always grow down. If you take a plant, you can plant them in these containers that look like this. Okay, and here's the seed here. Plant root's going to grow like this. If you then tilt this box on its side, the root will start growing like this. Then you tilt it again. So now this is the dirt up here. The root's going to grow like this. Okay, so the root will always grow downwards. And this seems to be because of some kind of settling process inside the cells. That gravity acts on organelles within the cell. The organelles get pulled down to the bottom, and that seems to influence the production or the distribution of hormones within the cells of the plants. Okay, last one's probably the coolest, I think. Thigmotropism, the response to touch. So if you've ever seen a vine seems to know how to grow towards a surface and wrap tendrils around a surface. That's because plants can, to some extent, detect touch and detect the sensation of touch. So this is Opuntia cactus. Hold on. There's not on the watch. So they're putting some kind of probe, and you can see the stamen of the flower are curling inward in response to the touch of the probe.
Isn't that like those like small little burn thingies that when you step on them they close up?
Yeah, this is actually equivalent.
Oh,
Sensitive plant.
yeah.
So see, he just runs his finger along the center and then whoop!
In Chinese, they're called shy plants.
Shy plants?
Yeah.
What about those plants that like I think it's in the right bars, not in but it's like vines, but their roots grow for like however long it takes them to find water. But they grow on the surface.
You mean like an epiphyte where the roots are surface roots?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if those are hydrotropic or something where they
Okay.
can grow in the direction of water. I don't know.
Is this also kind of a response to like pollination? For example, if bees came and like took the pollen to move it, would the flower close up after that?
I think that's what the Opuntia. I think that was going on with the Opuntia flower. I think it had something to do with pollination, although I'm not sure. I think it is the response means different things in different plants. So in vines, it has to do with finding a surface and clinging to it. With Opuntia, I would bet it has something to do with pollination. With the sensitive plant, I don't know why the sensitive plant does that. That's a deal. Okay. So plants, just like us, have circadian rhythms. And in fact, they can move a little bit because of those circadian rhythms. So we're going to watch bean plants. And we'll start it right around here. So watch the leaves come up. Watch how the leaves are moving up in the plants. This is right before the lights come on in the environmental chamber where these plants are being kept. So the leaves are moving up, and then the lights come on. Okay, and then later in the day, right before it gets dark, you watch the leaves start to go down. And then the lights go out. Okay, so the leaves of the plant move so that just before it gets light, they move in a position to collect a lot of sunlight. Then at night, they droop down, and I really don't know why they droop down, but they do. Right? And plants seem able to maintain these rhythms, sometimes in absence of environmental cues. They need an environmental cue like light to establish the rhythms, but they seem to maintain them sometimes even in the absence of external cues. By the way, this was a 6th grade science class, so I totally wish that I had that cool of a teacher in 6th grade biology, because I sure as hell did. My 6th grade teacher was really not very nice. Okay. Well, no, it wasn't that he wasn't nice. He was just kind of, I don't know.
Right.
So, not only do plants have circadian rhythms, sometimes they have seasonal rhythms. So sometimes they not only have a daily rhythm, they also have a seasonal rhythm. For example, plants that flower, angiosperms. If you see dandelions, right? Dandelions are going to start out flowering within a few weeks. They start in May sometimes. Do you see dandelion flowers in July? Yeah, they flower all summer. Yes, they flower all summer. Dandelions start flowering in May, they flower in June, July, August, September. You still see those puppies in like right before the first frost. They're flowering all summer.
Why are dandelions classified as a weed?
Weed is a non-technical term that basically means a non-desirable plant. Non-desirable plant.
Oh.
The technical word for them is a ruderal. So a ruderal is a plant that grows where you don't want it to grow. And that's what classifies it as a weed. It just grows where you don't want it to grow. Yeah, you know what their name comes from? Dent de Leon, the lion's teeth, because the edges of their leaves are serrated. So that's what we call dandelion. Oh. Okay. So some plants, though, unlike dandelions flower regardless of day length. Their trigger for flowering is something other than light. Some plants, the flowering trigger is light, and it's the length of time that it's dark at night. Okay, it seems to be how long it's dark is critical for whether they flower or not. For example, long night plants flower when it's dark for a lot of the photo period, for a lot of the day. Okay, so long night, short daylight time, they flower. This would be something like a mulm, something that flowers in the fall, or something that flowers in early spring. Okay. Long day plants flower only when daylight is very long and it's dark for a short period of time. Okay. The really weird thing is, it only takes a flash of light for a few minutes during the night to screw the plant up. As long as this dark is interrupted, the plant thinks, oh my God, it's been light a really long time, I should flower. Or this guy thinks, oh, it's been light somewhere in this, or it hasn't been dark for a sufficient amount of time, I'm going to not flower. And so all it takes is just interrupting that dark momentarily to screw the plant up into thinking that it's either the right time to flower or it's the wrong time to flower.
How do you fix that?
Well, you don't. I mean, this is what scientists did to try to mess it up. They got the plants to flower at the wrong time by trying to figure out whether it was critical that it stay light or that it stay dark, and also to figure out whether interruptions matter. And they found that, in fact, interruptions into the dark part of the cycle matter a great deal. If you interrupt that dark cycle, the plant gets confused. Okay, so how do plants know this? How do they know to start their daily rhythm based on it's going to be light pretty soon? How do they know when to flower based on how long the day is? What sense is that? It turns out it's a pigment, phytochromes, okay? And this particular pigment,
Did you put your shirt on backwards?
all day. It's just like really pulling on my neck. That's gonna sound backwards. All day, just noticed. I'm like, oh, why is it so uncomfortable? This is not backwards.
I've done that.
Not gonna lie, I know the first time. Okay. So phytochromes. Phytochromes are plants that have, phytochromes are chemicals that have two isomers. Okay, they have two isomers. What's an isomer?
Isn't it like a physical like flip of a compound or molecule?
Right, so yeah, it's not just this one, right? That's the enantiomer. It's a kind of isomer, it's a mirror image. It's any time you have two compounds that have the same atoms,
Different structure.
just arranged differently. Right, so it's geometric isomers, structural isomers, and enantiomers. So these are two isomers. PFR is far red phytochrome, and PR is red phytochrome. PR phytochrome responds to red light. PFR phytochrome responds to far red light.
Like infrared?
No, not quite. Not quite. Far red is not quite an infrared. Okay. During the daytime, during light, PR is converted quickly to PFR. So when there's light out, the plant has a lot of PFR in it because all its PR is getting converted. When it's dark out, PFR goes back to PR. Okay, so when it's dark, there's less PFR. PFR in some plants serves as a transcription factor. So plants are going to make different proteins when there's a lot of light. They'll have more PFR when there's a lot of light. They'll have that PFR as a transcription factor. They're going to make different proteins. Okay, so phytochromes seem to be the key to plants' ability to synchronize with daylight, to control their own internal events in response to daylight. All right, so let's watch a little video because I turn my shirt inside out, right it out, whatever. Yeah, no, not inside out, backwards.
My cousin wore a tie-dye shirt inside out and backwards with the tackle.
They also use specific wavelengths of light. Plants use light as an energy source. They also use specific wavelengths of light to regulate plant growth and development. A family of pigment-containing proteins, the phytochromes, plays an important role in plant regulation. A phytochrome changes back and forth between two isomeric forms. One isomer, PR, absorbs red light, and the other isomer, PFR, absorbs far red light. The two forms of the phytochrome are photoreversible, and the interconversion of one form to the other acts as a control mechanism to regulate various events in the plant life cycle. For example, seed germination is inhibited by far red light and stimulated by red light. Because chlorophyll in green leaves absorbs red light but not far red light, seeds deposited under a heavy canopy of trees do not germinate. Some seeds germinate in the spring, in part because they become exposed to red light after the leaves have fallen and decomposed, and before new leaves that shade them have emerged. The phytochrome protein is originally synthesized in the PR form. When red light enters the plant cell, it converts some of the PR into PFR. In some plants, the PFR then enters the nucleus, binds to proteins that associate with DNA, and either activates or inhibits transcription of specific genes.
Okay. All right, so the last piece of this chapter, we're going to spend 2 seconds reviewing, and then yes, we are going to forge onward, because the next stuff is kind of interesting. The last piece of this is plant defenses, which is a really fascinating subject, but one we don't have a ton of time to delve into. Plant defenses can be mechanical. For example, some leaves and stems have these hairs on them. I think they're sometimes called trichomes that can be a dissuasion for herbivores to eat the plant. Poison ivy, what does poison ivy got?
Red tinted, shiny.
Yeah, what's it? Urushiol, right? That oil, the oil that makes you itch like crazy. You know, you can actually get poison ivy in your respiratory tract if you inhale. They tell you don't burn it, because you can get the oil. You can inhale the oil. You can actually get an inflammation in your respiratory tract. Don't
You have to go to the hospital for it.
What?
You have to go to the hospital for it. It's really bad.
I bet. Yeah. I mean, it's a major inflammation externally, so I can't even imagine what it's like if you're inhaling it. So some plants have chemical defenses. Some plants do wild things like they recruit other organisms. For example, acacia have those big hollow thorns, and nectaries. These ants eat the nectar and live in the thorns. are predators of herbaceous or herbivorous insects. So the thorn is a nice place to live. The nectar is nice for the ant to eat. So the ants live there, and the acacia has its own army that fights against herbivorous insects. Okay. What's that called? What kind of relationship is that called? Symbiosis specifically is mutualism. Yeah, mutualism, because they both benefit. The book has a really interesting example where a caterpillar eats a leaf, which triggers the leaf to produce a chemical. So you start a signal transduction cascade. The saliva generates a cellular response where the leaf releases an attracting chemical that brings in parasitoid wasps. Okay, parasitoid wasps, really nasty life cycle. They lay their eggs in the host. The eggs hatch inside the host, and the little babies eat the host from the inside out, tasting. Okay, and they leave behind what's called a mummy, where the external part of the host is totally fine, and it's just dead, like this, with little baby wasp puparium, like little baby wasp cocoon sticking out of its back. Okay, so the plant actually recruits parasitoids to come in and get rid of the insects eating it. And then the book also talks about a plant's way of battling pathogens. So sort of like our immune system, plants have chemical defenses against pathogens as well, like viruses and virus, things that affect plants. Okay, so let's do review for 2 minutes. So different things you need to know: physiology of angiosperms, types and tissues, types of cells, types of tissues, organs, leaves, roots, stems, woody stems, and the floral organs, the anthers, the pistils, or carpels, excuse me, the petals, the sepals, how plants grow, so apical meristems and vascular cambium. Differences between monocots and dicots. So how is a tissue arranged differently in monocots and dicots? One cotyledon versus 2 cotyledons, vein versus net-like. Parallel veins versus net-like veins. Transport, transpiration in xylem, pressure flow and phloem.
Do you want to know, in the text, it said the pulling force versus the pushing force in the xylem? Do you want to know?
Oh, you mean root pressure? It's probably talking about root pressure.
Yeah, do you want us to know that too?
You need to know that there is such a thing as root pressure, but it's not a significant part of transpiration. It doesn't push the water all the way up the tree.
Okay.
Right? It talks about glutation when the water leaks out.
Yeah, do you know that?
I'm not going to ask you a ton of questions, but there might be a multiple choice question that you need to at least know what root pressure is.
Okay, gotcha.
As I think I mentioned in at least some of the sections I talked about glutation a little bit, and definitely I mentioned root pressure. Proton pumps, just because they come up in co-transport, as well as the way plants collect positively charged ions. Root physiology, so apoplast, symplast, the Casparian strip, and how those influence the way water gets into the roots. Nutrients, mostly major, don't worry about the minor so much. So carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, potassium, sulfur, and those ones. How does a plant get nitrogen? So ammonifying bacteria break down decaying dead things. Nitrogen fixing bacteria take atmospheric nitrogen to make ammonia. And then nitrifying bacteria take ammonia and turn it into nitrate. And plants mostly use nitrate. Root symbionts, so endo and ectomycorrhizae, and the bacteria that live in root nodules. Okay, everybody good with that? Okay. All right. Angiosperm reproduction. Alternation of generations, pollination and germination. And now that you know a little bit about hormones, you know even more about germination. Flower structure is here, but I also mentioned it in physiology, so I don't say flower structure yet. Plant signaling, you have to know the 5 hormones. You have to understand the 3 tropisms. And then a little bit about how phytochromes affect both seasonal and circadian rhythms. All right, and then plant defenses is one slide. And no, I'm not going yet, sorry.
Should we show the cartoon?
All right, well, let me get it while I pass this out, all right? great.
Now would be a good time.
Is that are those lecture notes for ecology?
Last lecture notes ever.
Ecology?
Ecology. Wow.
Gonna say ever. Just kidding.
Wait, you have that? That's on Moodle, right? The slides?
I think
It's on the forum. I don't think I put it on the forum.
Why does
So
it
are you not using Moodle anymore, or just using Forum?
It's such a hassle for me to upload things to Moodle that I've been kind of lazy and just been uploading to forum. I will put them on Moodle. It just probably won't be until next week. And then since they're on the forum, you have them. Is it a difference to you guys?
I don't see how it would matter.
Okay, so I'll keep them on the forum and I'll just stick them on Moodle too, just so they're in an organized place.
Ecology
Ecology.
is my favorite.
Yeah.
Do we have a class in ecology?
I don't have a quiz.
Okay.
Yeah, she's not probably didn't push where she's going. Danny, I don't have it.
What? That's so weird. Send me
Ms.
a-
Monti, are the PowerPoints in folders or?
In right now in the forum, I just have folders with PowerPoint.
Okay, because Sarah just asked via the whiteboard if they got deleted over time.
No, I fixed it. Thanks to
Okay.
Alex Reef, I fixed it so my emails don't get deleted. I can't fix it for everybody,
Yeah.
but my emails don't get deleted. So they will be there, and they'll also be in Moodle as of next week. So they're definitely there now, and I'll make the repository in Moodle next week. The PowerPoints that aren't there are the advanced review ones. Those are only in Moodle. Those are not in Moodle.
Okay.
Okay, so next thing, really quick, just so you know, I'm skipping chapter 50. We're coming back to it because it just makes more sense to me this way. I know in your notes, I forgot that I lectured, or I wasn't remembering that I lectured the other way, so I left it as 50 first. All right, so we're just going to go right to 51, and we'll go back to 50. All right, so this chapter is about the study of ethology, which is the study of behavior. We're going to talk about innate behaviors, things that you are born knowing how to do. And we'll talk a little bit about how those behaviors have genetic and or environmental results. Then we'll talk about several different kinds of learning, and we'll go from the most basic to the most complex. We'll talk a little bit about the evolution of behavior, and then we'll end with a quick discussion on sociobiology and altruism. Altruism is this idea that you help others to your own detriment, and why would something do that? Why would an organism do that? It doesn't make sense necessarily from an evolution standpoint. Okay, so the study of ethology was, it's not a very old study. I don't know, 100 years or so old, not even maybe. Some of the pioneers include this guy Nico Tinbergen and Conrad Lorenz. Okay, Nico Tinbergen came up with 4 questions that frame the study of animal behavior. 1, what does the behavior look like? 2, how does an individual's development influence how it behaves? Both of those are something called proximate questions, meaning they're about behavior as it looks now. How does it look? How does an individual develop those behavior for itself? The other 2 questions are called ultimate. They have to do with the evolutionary history of behavior. How did it evolve? What did it look like 1,000 years ago? How did it change to what it is now? And how does that behavior lead to an enhancement of fitness? Why has that behavior evolved? Okay, so 2 short-term questions. What does it look like? And how is it developed within the individual? And then 2 long-term questions. How did it come about and why did it come about? What does it do to help the individual? Okay, so let's start with some innate behaviors. I'm pretty sure this is Conrad Lorenz had a red spiny stickleback, or spiny stickleback, it's a fish. And he had it in a fish tank. And he had it near the door of his house. And he noticed every time they came to pick up his garbage, this fish would go bananas. Okay? It turns out that it was a red truck that would come to his house and pick up the garbage. And he played around with the spiny stickleback, and he found that the fish seemed programmed to respond to a particular shape and size that had half of it colored red. Didn't have to be a fish, okay? It just had to be something that had a certain amount of it colored red. And the garbage truck met that criteria. It turns out that male stickleback are very territorial. and the size and shape and color was enough of a resemblance to another male fish that the stickleback went bananas when the garbage truck came. It looked enough like a male fish that the stickleback went bananas. Now, a garbage truck looks nothing like a fish, but it was the right color and the right shape. And that's all the stickleback was looking for. He wasn't looking for something that looked like a fish. He was looking for a red blob of a particular shape and size. Okay, another thing Conrad Lorenz found. Geese, right? Gray lag geese, when they're born, if you come along and you kick an egg out of their nest, they go out and find the egg and they drag it back with their neck back to their nest. All right, Ernest, come here for a second. Okay, if I kick this out again, okay, kick it out of my nest. So what Conrad Lorenz did, I think was him, he would take the egg and he would kick it, go ahead, kick it. He would get it out of the way. And what he found was the goose would keep going back to her nest, like she was dragging the egg. She'd get back to her nest and she'd go, hey, where's my egg? And she'd, oh, it's over there. She'd go over here.
Retarded.
No, in fact, there's an evolutionary reason for it. Let's not use that language. So she's dragging it back. Go ahead and kick it again, just gently. He would move the egg, and she would keep going back to her nest. Okay, that's called a fixed action pattern. It's an innate behavior. You're born knowing how to do it. Humans have them. If I yawn, at least some of you guys are going to yawn. Okay, it's a fixed action pattern. The reason that it is believed animals evolved these fixed action patterns is that it allows animals to ignore outside information when they're carrying out a behavior that is imperative for their survival. So you carry out the behavior from start to finish once you start it.
I think this is about it's not fair.
Right, now it seems nonsensical, but the basic idea is it's not about whether you move the egg or not. It's about the fact that the goose cannot stop herself. Even if heaven and earth are exploring around her, she's going to get that egg back to her nest. All right. Yeah, that's a good question. Email to me again, and I'll put it in the next